Every morning, millions of people wake up, grab a bunch of celery, run it through a juicer, and drink 16 ounces of pale green liquid on an empty stomach before they eat a single thing. They were told it would heal their gut, clear their skin, reverse their autoimmune disease, strip viruses from their bloodstream, and fix everything their doctor could not fix in years of trying. Some of them swear it worked. Some of them ended up in the bathroom for a week, confused about why a vegetable was destroying them. And almost none of them were told the full story, the 3,000-year history of this plant, the real compounds science has actually studied, the legitimate trial out of Iran that showed measurable effects on blood pressure, and the man at the center of this entire movement who openly admits he receives his medical knowledge from a spirit that speaks beside his right ear. That is the story we are going to tell today. By the end of it, you will know exactly what happens to your body when you drink celery juice for 30 days, and precisely who told you to do it and why. Picture the year 1323 BCE. Craftsmen in Egypt are preparing the burial chamber of a young pharaoh, and among the garlands they weave to honor the dead, placed alongside gold and lapis lazuli, are stems of wild celery. Archaeologists found those same celery garlands still preserved in Tutankhamun's tomb when Howard Carter opened it in 1922. That is how long this plant has held a place in human ritual and medicine. Hippocrates prescribed celery for nerve disorders and as a tonic for the blood. Dioscorides listed it in his first-century medical encyclopedia, De Materia Medica, as a treatment for heartburn and a natural diuretic. In traditional Chinese medicine, celery, known as qinkai, was prescribed for centuries to clear what practitioners called liver heat and bring down high blood pressure. In Ayurveda, celery seed was called ajmoda and used for digestion, arthritis, gout, and water retention. The German Commission E, the body that evaluates herbal remedies in Germany, still officially recognizes celery for gastrointestinal complaints, gout, and rheumatism today. This plant has been in the hands of healers for 3,000 years. So the question worth asking is not whether celery does anything. It does. The question is whether everything you have been told about what it does and how to use it and in what form and why is actually true. Before we go further, drop a comment right now telling us if you have tried celery juice. Did you notice something different? What you are about to find out may completely reframe whatever you experienced. And if you have been struggling with chronic symptoms for years, exhausted, inflamed, told nothing is wrong, this is going to matter to you. Here is where the modern version of this story starts to unravel. In 2018 and early 2019, organic celery sales surged 77% year over year. Grocery stores in Los Angeles sold out of celery entirely, and prices spiked nationally. Kim Kardashian posted Instagram stories on January 10, 2019, drinking celery juice with the caption, "Pretty gross, but saw that the medical medium says it helps psoriasis, so..." Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop platform had already made him one of their most read contributors. Robert De Niro, Pharrell Williams, Novak Djokovic, Naomi Campbell, and Sylvester Stallone were all associated with the trend. At the center of it all was one man, Anthony William Covillo, known as the medical medium. Now, here is the part that every single wellness influencer and celebrity endorser glossed over when they pushed this to their audiences. Anthony William holds 0 medical credentials, no medical degree, no nutrition certification, no formal health training of any kind. His own website's disclaimer states explicitly that he is not a licensed medical doctor, chiropractor, osteopathic physician, naturopathic doctor, nutritionist, pharmacist, psychologist, or other formally licensed healthcare professional. When an LA magazine reporter asked him directly, he said that he was not a graduate of anything and that he had just been doing this his whole life. His claimed authority comes from a spirit he says speaks outside his head, beside his right ear, that he calls the spirit of compassion. He says this spirit taught him about celery juice's healing powers around 1975 when he was a child. By his account, he went on to publish 8 New York Times #1 best-selling books through Hay House, had sold over 900,000 copies. By 2019, charged $500 per half-hour phone consultation and amassed 3.6 million Instagram followers. The protocol he prescribes is specific: 16 ounces of pure celery juice every single morning on an empty stomach. Nothing added, organic only. Wait 15 to 30 minutes before eating and work up to 32 ounces daily. He calls it the most powerful medicine of our time and claims it can treat Hashimoto's, eczema, psoriasis, SIBO, chronic fatigue, migraines, acid reflux, Lyme disease, ADHD, lupus, fibromyalgia, anxiety, depression, endometriosis, and dozens more. His foundational medical theory, again from a spirit not from a university, is that Epstein-Barr virus causes virtually all chronic illness in over 60 different varieties. Science recognizes 2 strains of Epstein-Barr virus, not 60, 2. Here is the part that should make you genuinely angry. The people drinking celery juice because they were desperate, because their doctors had tried everything and nothing worked, because they had chronic symptoms for years that kept getting dismissed. Those people deserve the real information. They deserve to know that a man with no training and no credentials was prescribing to them based on what he says a spirit tells him. The failure was not theirs. The system that elevated him to cultural authority without accountability, that is what failed them. So what does celery actually contain? And what does the science genuinely say? This is where it gets genuinely interesting, because the answer is not nothing. Celery is a pharmacologically active plant. It contains real compounds that researchers have studied, and some of those studies are compelling. But the leap from those studies to miracle juice is so enormous, it deserves to be examined layer by layer. The most studied compound in celery for cardiovascular effects is a phthalate called 3-N-butophthalate, often written 3-NB. The origin of the research is a story worth telling. In the late 1980s, a University of Chicago medical student named Quang T. Lee was investigating celery after his father, a Vietnamese immigrant, ate a quarter pound of celery every day for 1 week and watched his blood pressure drop from 158/96 down to 118/82. Lee and pharmacologist William J. Elliott identified 3-NB as the active compound. It works by blocking an enzyme called tyrosine hydroxylase, which reduces the production of stress hormones that tighten blood vessels. Think of it like this: stress hormones are the hand squeezing a garden hose. Block the signal that tenses that hand, and the water flows more freely. Their animal studies showed blood pressure reductions of 12 to 14% and cholesterol drops of roughly 7%. That animal research led eventually to human trials. In 2022, a triple-blind placebo-controlled crossover clinical trial published in Phytotherapy Research, conducted by Shayani Rod and colleagues at Mashhad University in Iran, gave 52 patients with elevated blood pressure celery seed extract capsules at 1.34 grams per day for 4 weeks. Systolic blood pressure dropped from 140 1.2 to 130 millimeters of mercury. Diastolic dropped from 92.2 to 84.2 millimeters of mercury. Those are statistically significant results, with p-values under 0.001. A 2025 meta-analysis in Frontiers in Nutrition pooled 10 randomized controlled trials with 511 total participants and found celery preparations can meaningfully reduce blood pressure. This is real. This is documented. This matters. But here is what every single celery juice promoter never tells you. Those trials used concentrated celery seed extract standardized to 85% 3NB. Celery seeds contain vastly higher concentrations of bioactive compounds than celery stalks. Drinking blended celery stalks is not the same thing as taking a pharmaceutical-grade seed extract. The compounds are present, yes, but at concentrations many orders of magnitude lower, and without the absorption data that tells you whether they even reach the bloodstream in meaningful quantities. Now consider apigenin. This flavonoid, the dominant one in celery, has been studied extensively in laboratories for its anti-inflammatory and anti-cancer properties. Researchers have documented effects on signaling pathways, including MAPK, PI-KACT, and NF-kappa B. A 2010 review in Phytomedicine found epidemiological associations between flavone-rich diets and reduced cancer risk, but that same review noted clearly that human clinical trials examining apigenin supplementation for disease prevention had not been conducted, and apigenin has a serious practical problem: poor oral bioavailability. Killing cancer cells in a petri dish at concentrations you could never achieve by drinking juice does not translate automatically to drinking a glass of green liquid each morning. The cells in that dish were bathed in purified apigenin. The apigenin in your celery juice must survive digestion, pass through your intestinal wall, avoid rapid breakdown by liver enzymes, and reach target tissues in sufficient concentration to do what it did in that dish. That journey is not guaranteed. It is not even well studied. Here is the number that exposes the gap between what we know and what is being claimed. Of the roughly 1,109 published articles referencing celery in the scientific literature, only 14 are clinical studies in actual humans, and only one of those involves celery juice specifically. That one is a single case report of a 74-year-old man. That is the entirety of the human evidence for celery juice as a therapeutic agent. If you are finding this valuable, if this is giving you a framework for evaluating every wellness trend that gets pushed at you, hit the like button now. We are not done yet. So why did the world abandon 3,000 years of understanding this plant and replace it with a celebrity spirit medium's protocol? The answer follows a pattern you will recognize. Speed. Traditional herbal preparations, seed extracts, decoctions, and dried powders used in Ayurveda and Chinese medicine required skill, time, and careful preparation. A standardized seed extract takes months to produce and quality testing. Blending a bunch of celery stalks takes 4 minutes. The industrial version always wins when the competition is time. Cost and credentialing. Herbalists and Ayurvedic practitioners who understood the plant's actual properties and how to deploy them therapeutically had training you had to seek out and pay for. Anthony Williams' Instagram is free. His books cost $15, and a new technology made the old method seem obsolete. The smartphone, the algorithm, and the wellness influencer created a distribution system for health claims that reaches millions of people before any credentialing institution can evaluate or respond. Williams' movement grew fastest precisely during the period when social media outpaced regulatory and journalistic oversight of health claims. The hidden cost is that the people who were most desperate, who had exhausted conventional medicine and were searching for anything, were handed unvetted promises instead of honest information about a genuinely interesting plant. So what do you actually do with this? Here are 3 options, ordered from the easiest to the most involved. If you want the simplest possible entry point, just start eating whole celery regularly. 2 to 3 stalks daily as part of your meals is enough to deliver meaningful amounts of apigenin, luteolin, phthalides, and celery's natural diuretic compounds. You also get the fiber, which the juice strips away entirely, and which is one of celery's most valuable components for gut health, blood sugar stabilization, and cholesterol management. Eat the whole plant. It is cheaper, easier, and frankly better supported by the nutritional evidence than the juice protocol. If you want to pursue the compound that has the strongest human clinical trial evidence, the thrin B and phthalate complex, look for standardized celery seed extract capsules from a reputable supplement manufacturer, standardized to a known percentage of phthalates. This is the form used in the actual Mashhad University trial. This is the form the German Commission E recognizes. Read the label carefully and check for third-party testing certification. If you are on warfarin, lithium, thyroid medication, or blood pressure drugs, speak to your doctor first. Celery's vitamin K content and diuretic activity create real documented interactions that deserve medical oversight. And if you simply want to know whether that bottle of celery juice at the smoothie bar or that wellness influencer's protocol is worth your money, here is your test. Ask one question: is this whole celery, celery seed extract, or celery stalk juice? If it is celery stalk juice with a list of miracle claims attached, you now know there is exactly one human case report supporting those claims. If it is standardized celery seed extract, you have 10 randomized controlled trials and a meta-analysis behind it. That single question separates the 3,000-year history of a real medicinal plant from a spirit medium's Instagram protocol. Ancient physicians who crowned their Olympic victors with celery leaf wreaths at the Nemean Games, who inscribed celery's uses in the first encyclopedias of medicine, were not primitive. They were careful, empirical observers of a plant that contains genuinely active compounds, working with the tools of their time to understand something real. The knowledge was never lost. It was outsourced, traded from trained healers to credentialist influencers, from seed extracts backed by trial data to celery stalk juice backed by a spirit's voice. We are here to dig up what actually works: the plants, the practices, the traditions that survive thousands of years because they earned it, and separate them from the noise. If you want more investigations like this one, subscribe and tell us in the comments, what is the next health trend you want us to run down? We will follow the evidence wherever it goes.